Hey guys, what I've got here is the Blackmagicdesign DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. This is a mini custom keyboard with custom keys that are designed to help you create and edit videos in DaVinci Resolve. So I previously used Adobe Premiere Pro for several years to edit videos for YouTube, but I switched to DaVinci Resolve and I wish I changed earlier. The software is fantastic. It's free to download and the vast majority of features are free to use. But if you pay a few $100, you upgrade to the studio version, and if you buy it, that's what you'll get. It's just a card with an activation key, etc. And when you upgrade, you unlock, additional resolutions, additional features, additional effects, etc. But when they launched DaVinci Resolve 17 earlier this year, those who upgraded also got this speed editor. This sells for like £250 on its own. So what I'd like to do today is open it. I'd like to show you what's in the box, and we'll have a look at this little keyboard and we can see what it can do, because I will be adding it to my desk alongside my headphone amp, my Thunderbolt hub, my audio interface, and my Stream Deck. But before I get this open, I just want to quickly jump over to my browser and I want to show you DaVinci Resolve. So I'll leave a link to this down below in the description area so you can check it out. But you can see that it is a free download. You only have to upgrade to Studio if you want. So the natural way to progress is to use the free version for a while, see what you like, see what you don't like, and if you like it, you can upgrade. But this is powerful software. It's absolutely powerful software, but it is quite easy to use as well. And it's got like audio editing, color grading. It's got everything that you would need. It really is fantastic, and I'm a huge fan of it if you can't tell. Now, there are some reasons to upgrade to Resolve Studio. Like I was saying, you've got additional frames per second, higher resolutions, GPU acceleration as well, so you can encode videos quicker, advanced noise reduction. I still think that the free version is sufficient for most people, but if you're thinking about it long term, £225 in the UK isn't a lot long term. I mean, I was paying £40–50 per month for the Adobe suite of apps before. So, I mean, I spent thousands on Adobe. So in comparison to that, upgrading to this is a no-brainer. It's a bargain. And you do get all these additional features, all these additional effects as well. Now, there's two keyboards available. You can see one is the full editor keyboard. And, if you're a professional, maybe that's the one you would gravitate towards. But I like the idea of the speed editor, not just because I got it in a bundle and it was effectively free for me, but I like the smaller size, and I like, the fact that it will fit on my desk a little bit easier. And this is what we're going to be checking out today. And you can see there's all these different custom keys for changing cameras, for editing. The whole idea is just that it's going to simplify editing so that you don't have to rely on your mouse as much. Hopefully, anyway, that's my hope. So like I was saying, you can buy this separately for, £250 right now in the UK. But if you look around, you will see that there's bundles out there. And I think the best thing for people to do is to do what I did and look for a bundle, so that when you upgrade to the Pro version, the Studio version, this version here, that you get this thrown in as well. So let's check this out and see what it's all about. So here is the box which the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor is inside. And before I get this open, let's have a quick look at the back. You can see that it says faster than a mouse and a keyboard, keys positioned for fast editing, both Bluetooth and USB control. And it does say that it's got a built-in battery. It's a USB Type-C connection. And then there's a list of all kind of different functions which you get in the keys here, such as the machined metal search dial at the side. That kind of dominates the keyboard. But without further ado, let's get this open. So this has sat in my office for about 8 or 9 months. Oh, we can see the dial poking out here. Nice presentation here so far. There we go. That is the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. Okay, let's get it out of the box. So also inside the box, we have a little card telling you to download DaVinci Resolve 17. It's telling you that to reduce waste, they've not included an SD card with the user manual and the software. Instead, they're asking you to download the manual online. I'm all for that. We've got some Blackmagicdesign stickers over here as well. And then we've got a Type-C cable. So the cable is about 1.5 meters long. It's not branded in any way, but it is incredibly thick. It looks incredibly durable. So that looks quite good. And it weighs in at 800 grams exactly, which is 1 pound, 12.2 ounces. So as far as size goes, the official website confirms that it's 156 by 245 millimeters. And as far as height goes, at the highest end, it is 44 millimeters. Now, that also says that it's 780 grams in weight, but I did weigh it again, and once again, it confirmed that it is actually 800 grams. So first impressions are that this looks fantastic. It does look like a premium product, and the dial is very easy to use. It seems like you've got a lot of control here. It's very sensitive. And the keys, you can hear that, are quite, kind of feel like mechanical keys. You can see the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor name up at the top, and you've got the Blackmagicdesign logo there. And, you know, there's not really much else to show you here apart from that Type-C connection at the back. You can use Bluetooth as well. So yeah, first impressions are that it looks good, but I'll just quickly get this plugged in and we'll see what happens. Okay, so the Type-C cable is connected to my Thunderbolt hub, and we have lights. So behind a lot of these keys, there's a red indicator light, and you can see the snap key is on already and the jog key, and I can spin that very easily. And in the background here, I can show you that the timeline is actually spinning. So I'm spinning it like this. And when I do that, if I take my webcam away, you should be able to see the timeline of this very video spinning around. So that's pretty cool that it's doing that. Now you should also be able to see this message here that says Speed Editor update available. Connect the Speed Editor via USB. From the DaVinci control panel setup, update the firmware and repair the Bluetooth connection. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So the DaVinci control panel setup box will pop up when you click continue there. And if you click that button, update required. And now I can update the Speed Editor, I can update the firmware. And it looks like the Speed Editor has been updated and it is ready to use. And it's worth noting there that there is 0% battery down there, 0% in the editor itself, which is no surprise because it has sat in my room for about 8 or 9 months. So I'm going to let this charge up. So the firmware has been updated. And as you can see, my DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor is still connected to my Thunderbolt hub via this ridiculously thick Type-C cable. So the battery is charging up from 0%, but my main focus over the next week or so is to familiarize myself with how this works. And if you've ever edited videos, you will be familiar with many of these keys before. You know, you've got all the different camera buttons, source, timeline, etc. But I think it's important to spend some time actually using the device to figure out what each of these buttons do. So all of the clips that you've seen so far in this video were recorded around 3 weeks ago. And over the last few weeks, I have used the Speed Editor whenever I've edited a video in DaVinci Resolve. I've normally got it sitting over here, and then I simply pull it over to wherever I need it, usually at the side of this keyboard. So I now have a better understanding as to what the Speed Editor offers, how it can help you edit videos, and what these buttons do. So I'm going to show you a kind of closer look at what these buttons do and give you a better understanding of that. Before I do, I just want to say that if you buy the Speed Editor or you're thinking of doing so, I encourage you to check this link out, the user manual, and download this PDF document. This is the DaVinci Resolve 17 reference manual. There's no dedicated manual for the Speed Editor itself, but if you go to chapter 49, using the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor and Editor keyboard, then you'll learn everything that you need to know about the Speed Editor and what it does. The first section is about, getting set up, etc. And then it starts delving deep into what each of these keys do. So if you go down, you can see it starts explaining each part of this, and it really is the best reference that you've got. I mean, I'm going to try my best here to give you a better understanding as to what this is about, but you will find yourself referencing that manual quite a lot. And I did it again today because I hadn't edited a video for a week. So I checked that manual again just to, familiarize myself with some of the buttons again. So here is the speed editor. And what I'll quickly do here is I'll just append a new clip in here. I'll insert a new clip. And you'll see here you've got the two buttons for source and timeline. And if you've edited a video before, you'll know what that's about. But say I put this video here as the source, I can then quickly change between the source and the timeline. Very easy to do, quite useful in certain situations. So that's quite useful. Next, we've got shuttle, jog, and scroll. Now, these all refer, if I put a clip in here, these all refer to the speed of the dial here. And I will say that this dial is an absolute pleasure to use. Blackmagicdesign have done a great job with this dial. It doesn't just go like that. It goes all the way around, and it goes forever. And it's very, very good. It's one of the greatest things about this keyboard. Now, these buttons here will change how this works. You've got shuttle, you've got jog, and you've got scroll. Now, they say that shuttle's better at, in fact, I'll jump to the manual to show you what they say. They say that shuttle is better at the scene level, there. Jog is better at the clip level, and scroll at the timeline level. So what they're really referring to there is, if I get this away, what they're referring to is the speed of the jog dial. So if you're talking about slowest to fastest, jog would be the slowest. The one in the middle, jog, would be the slowest. So this is the one that's going to give you fine detail, and you want precision to do a cut or something. That's when you want to use jog. Whereas if you want to work between different clips, you'd maybe jump to shuttle so that you can jump between clips a little bit easier. It just increases the pace. And then you've got scroll, which, I mean, look at the speed of that. That just jumps through your whole timeline. I found myself using jog and shuttle quite a lot, but I do jump back to scroll sometimes if I need to go back to the start of my timeline. That's quite useful because it saves you from having to get the mouse out and then, kind of drag your mouse like that. So once you understand how those work, you'll find yourself kind of, just jumping between the different speeds there, without even thinking about it. So that's incredibly useful. You'll be using this dial a lot. If I jump over up here, you'll see different types of ways of inserting clips into the timeline. So you can see here, you've got Smart Insert. And what you might have noticed there, I can undo that. This one here, Smart Insert. If I double click this and I've got a scene selected. So say part 5 of this video. If I click it here, it will insert it directly where I've got the indicator here. So if I put it there, it will put it right into the video, right in between that clip. Now, I'll undo that. What we've got here is the append button. So it's the same thing happening here. I'm trying to insert a clip. I can insert part 6. But what it will do is it will append it to the end of that clip. So this time, the clip has been added, but it's not been added in the middle. It's been appended to the end of the clip. So that's quite useful. We've also got overwrite, and again, that's pretty self-explanatory. I can overwrite a clip. I'll click part 4, and then I will overwrite, and it will completely overwrite the clip that was there before. We've got close-up, and again, self-explanatory. Click on it, and you'll see that it's now a close-up clip, but I'll maybe use a different clip to show you that. So if we use something like this one, right? You've got the box, and I'm going to do a close-up. I've still got the wrong clip selected. Box, close-up, close-up. And you can see how the clips here are being inserted now with a close-up. And then I can obviously adjust the zoom as and when needed. So I've got another one here, appended another clip, and what we've got here, this one here is place on top. So as you can see, whatever the timeline is, I'll just place it on top of the main video clip. So the last button in this section is source overwrite, and this is something that I'm still trying to wrap my head around. I don't think it's applicable to what I do with videos and how I record videos and edit them for YouTube. But you'll see that if I push it here, it appends a clip on top, and then it's done a clip to the start of the timeline. So I found this to be problematic with what I, how I edit videos. And whenever I push that button, it's caused more problems than it's worth. And it's just because I don't use that functionality. I'm not sure it's applicable to me. If you look at the manual, it does say that the edit requires overlapping time code and multiple clips and track one of the timeline to work properly. So I don't think that's applicable to me, but if you use source overwrite in your videos, if this is a feature of DaVinci Resolve you use, then yes, you'll probably find it useful. I have been avoiding it because it seems to overwrite the clips that I've been working with. So underneath here, we have in and out, and very easy. Create an in point, create an out point. Very, very simple to use that. And I'll kind of jump ahead here, but there's an undo button up here if I double click, and I can undo that step. So underneath the white in and out buttons, there are 6 black buttons which Blackmagic referred to as search style live trimming tools. And these are quite useful. What you need to do is hold the button in, and then you can use the dial to adjust a clip or a transition. So it gives you more control over the start and end points of clips and transitions. So for example, if I select this clip over here and I select trim in, I can then bring the start of the clip in, and I can shorten the size of the clip. I can use trim out, and that will go to the other side. One thing to note is that when you select these, you'll see that it goes green there, so that it shows you the entry point. And sometimes if you're selecting, a clip in the middle of a timeline, obviously these ones are separated, but I have found that sometimes when you're in the middle of a timeline, sometimes it'll go to the wrong clip. So just double check that your timeline is the right one that you're trying to adjust. You can see like I've selected there and it's went back to the other one. So, play around with it to make sure that you know what you're doing there and that it's working correctly. So next up we have roll. And if I zoom in here, what I'm going to do is create a dissolve. And if I hold roll, you can see that I can now change that transition point. And that's really useful. One of the biggest parts of creating videos is jumping from one clip to the next, and that just makes it easy to jump from one side to the other. If you hold it in, you can see that there's another option called slide, and that says there that if you double press and hold this key, it will slide the entire clip back and forth in the timeline. So that's another option that you've got. Down here we've got slip source and slip destination. So again, looking at the transition there, I hold slip source, and you'll see the left side of the clip going back and forth. You can see that it's adjusting, and then I can go to the right side of the transition, the right clip, and you can change it there. And between roll, slip source, and slip destination, you've got great control over exactly where your transition is, exactly where it cuts, and it just gives you a little bit more control than you do, than you get with your mouse. The last one there is transition, duration, and set. And if you hold it in, you get the set button. That will kind of make your duration standard for future clips. But pretty self-explanatory. Hold it in. You can change the length of your duration. Very, very useful. At the very bottom of the left-hand side of the Speed Editor, we've got 3 grey buttons, and these are your transition keys. And these really do make it easier to add and remove transitions from your videos. I have found myself using these buttons a lot. The first button is cut, which, as you would expect, it removes the transition. But then you can easily add a dissolve or a smooth cut. Very, very easy. And you may have noticed there that I'm not selecting the clips. As long as I'm close to it there, I just click dissolve or I click smooth cut, the transition will be added. At the top center of the Speed Editor, you will see the function buttons. And I think that once you understand what these buttons do, you'll be using them in every single video that you edit with. So at the top left here, we've got escape, and if you double click, it's undo. And to be honest, I don't find myself using escape much. I think it is useful in certain situations if you're, escaping a clip you've got in the bin or something, but it's not something I find myself using. Undo is something that I use a lot. So if I delete that clip, you double click and it's back. It just undoes the last thing that you've done. So that's quite useful. What I've got here is the sync bin. So you can see, for example, I've got the media pull up here. This will just take me to the sync bin. So if you're referring to that a lot, you'll find that button useful. I've not been using it that much, if I'm honest, but you will find that there's certain buttons that you use all the time. So the audio level button, if you hold it in, you can see with the clip, I can adjust the audio level very, very easily. I can put the gain up or down. And there's also an option to create a marker. So you can see there's a marker up there, which I will now undo. Very, very useful. And the big red button, the only red button on the Speed Editor is for full view mode. So you can see I'm just making it full view. And again, if you want to see a clip in full view, that's very useful, and it saves you from having to do any kind of keyboard shortcut on a regular keyboard. On to the second row of the function keys. The first button here is for adding transitions or for modifying the font of a title. But this button does not, you can see here, does not do anything on the edit screen that I'm on just now. But if I go down to the cut screen and I hold it in, you can see that I'm adding transition. Just hold it in, I can add transition. So that's something that's quite useful, and you can use it to modify the font of titles as well. If I remove that for a second, and then I can show you the split and move key. So the split key here, you click it once, it will split the clip. But if I hold it in, I can then move it using the dial. This is something that really, when you think about its functionality, should really have been down here with the live trimming tools, but maybe just, because of the way that the buttons are designed, they've decided to put it up the top here. The next button we've got is the snap button, and certainly when you're kind of close in on clips, this will be really useful, because when it's not selected and you're scrolling, it will just jump by perhaps the point that you want to stop. Whereas if you've got snap, it should pause for a split second and snap into place at the end of clips or at the start of transitions, etc. So that is really useful. And the last function key is ripple delete, and self-explanatory. Push the button and whatever you select will be deleted. So the last buttons, the last functionality which we need to talk about, can be found in the middle of the Speed Editor, and this is referred to as the sync bin multicam selection area. And the part here which I use the most is stop and play, and everyone will be using this button because it helps you stop your video, play your video. It's essential. As far as the other buttons here, this is applicable to anyone who's shooting with multiple cameras and they're trying to put all those clips together. Whilst I do shoot with multiple cameras, and you've seen that in this video, switching between cameras, I don't edit that way. With many YouTubers, what they'll do is they'll record with multiple cameras and then they'll append those clips together. What I do instead, and what I'm doing right now, is recording via OBS, which you can see in the middle here. And I do that because it allows me to jump between cameras, and it reduces the amount of editing I do, so that once I've finished recording, I bring that clip to DaVinci Resolve and I don't have to mess about with multiple cameras. But I realize not everyone does that. In fact, most people don't do that. So if you are working with multiple cameras, you will find this section incredibly useful. You can see you've got all the different cameras, all the different camera options in the background there, and you can switch between them all using these buttons. And you can see video only down here, and then I can select audio only, like that. And there's also a live overwrite mode as well. And if I jump over to the manual again refer to this, this is not something that I'm an expert on because I don't have to use this, but there are some useful options here, and please refer to the manual for a better understanding as to what the live overwrite mode is about. It does say here that the live overwrite mode in the Speed Editor can be thought of as switching a live multicam shoot without all the annoying constraints of linear time. Now, that will make sense to some of you. Like I said, not to me. I don't shoot with multiple cameras and then append them all together. So this section is not applicable to me, but I think it is something that a lot of people will find useful when they're using the Speed Editor. I hope you now have a better understanding as to what the Speed Editor can do, what functionality is available, and what all of these buttons are for. But don't worry if what I've said so far has been a little bit overwhelming, because there's a lot of buttons here, there is a lot of functionality, and even today, having not used this for close to a week, I forgot what some of these buttons were for, or how I can use them. And I think that will be the case for everyone until they start introducing the buttons they don't know into their workflow. So again, I've said it many times, but please do refer to the official DaVinci Resolve 17 reference manual. It's got a detailed overview of every button, every function, and it's something that you should refer to until you have an understanding as to what each of these buttons do. But again, you have to use this in the way that suits you. Like I said, these camera buttons, they're not really applicable to the way that I shoot videos just now. And some of you might find that you're not using the transitions, or you're not using the dial as much for editing clips. But that's really up to you. It really comes down to how you want to use this and how you want to fit this into your workflow when you're editing videos in DaVinci Resolve. So there you have it. This has been the DaVinci Resolve Speed Editor. And I hope you now have a better understanding as to what this little keyboard can do and what functionality is available from the dial and all these magical little buttons. After using this for a few weeks, my overall opinion of this is incredibly positive. I think Blackmagicdesign have done a great job here, and the keyboard has actually exceeded my expectations of this. From the minute that you open this up, you can see that this is a premium product. It looks great, it feels great, the buttons are fantastic to use, and the dial is just a pleasure. It's just a great addition to the keyboard, and it really does make editing clips and transitions simple. One of the things I really do like about this is usability. Once I connected this to my computer and DaVinci Resolve was open, it recognized it right away. It updated the firmware and all the buttons worked. There was no downloading of a dedicated app or anything like that. Nothing like that was necessary. It just worked. And that's what I like about this. You just plug it in and it just works. There's two, I guess, slight negatives about this. First one being that there is no Linux support for the Speed Editor at this time. Hopefully, this is something that will be added in the future. This works with Mac and Windows, but despite the fact that DaVinci Resolve is available for Linux, this does not currently work for it. So that's something hopefully they can add in the future. The second negative, or not even negative per se, just an annoyance, is the battery. Blackmagicdesign advise that it charges at 4 watts via this cable, but they don't tell you the size of the battery, they don't tell you the estimated battery life, and there's no off and on switch, which could have been useful. In theory, I guess it's not necessary, because if you're connected via Bluetooth, then when you're not using it, it'll go into a low power state and you won't use too much battery. Today, I've had this connected via Bluetooth for 2 or 3 hours, or maybe more than that, 4 or 5 hours, and it's only been down about 1 or 2%. One of the mistakes I've made in this review is that this whole time I've been using this connected to my computer via the Type-C cable. In hindsight, I should have spent some time testing the Bluetooth connection to see what battery life was like. Looking online and looking at some discussions about this issue, it seems that if you've got this in an idle state and you're not using it, after 4 or 5 weeks, you're only going to drop from like 100% down to like 80% or so. And from people that are using it every day, if you're using it 5 or 6 hours a day, I think it's about 20% battery that you'll lose every day. So even if you connected this via Bluetooth and you relied on the battery, you'd maybe get about a week's worth of usage, 5 or 6 days. I'm just guessing at this point. I'll link to the discussion that I'm referring to so you can read about this yourself. But it is a little bit annoying that Blackmagicdesign don't give you any kind of estimated battery life, or even just an estimation as to what the battery is in here, what size it is. So yeah, a little bit annoying, but I don't think it's not a deal breaker, obviously, because battery life does on the surface does appear to be quite good. If you're planning on upgrading from the free version of DaVinci Resolve to DaVinci Resolve Studio, then I highly encourage you to seek out the promotion that I got and pay a little bit extra for your license so that you get the Speed Editor included in the package. It really is worthwhile paying a little bit more to get this premium video editing keyboard. If you've already upgraded to Studio in the past, or if the Speed Editor promotion is not available in your region, then you're going to have to pay $300 for this. Dollars, pounds, euros, wherever you are in the world, you're going to have to fork out a little bit extra for this. So the question comes up, does this complement your workflow? And that's something you're going to have to figure out based on your own recording and editing habits. Reference the manual, reference this video if you must, and have a think about what functionality you would use here. Certainly, I've found a lot of things I can use here, such as the dial. I've used transitions. I've used the trim editing tools with the dial. I've used full view. I find myself using that audio level button a lot and the undo button as well. But there's a lot of options in the middle here that I don't need. All these multi-camera options and source override button. There's things like that that I simply don't need and I'll never use, certainly in the near future. So you're going to have to look at that and figure out whether that is something that will be useful to you, what functionality is available, etc. Whether you're a beginner, whether you're an intermediate or an advanced DaVinci Resolve user, if you pick up the Speed Editor, you will have to adjust the way that you edit videos. And for the last year or so, I've been using this keyboard and this mouse to edit videos in DaVinci Resolve. And I guess that's the biggest change that I've seen myself. Once you understand what each of these buttons do, you then have to adjust how you edit videos. At the start, I was still using the keyboard, pushing Control F for full view rather than going to here, simply because I've been editing videos that way for so long. But after a while, I have found myself using the stop play button, using the full view button, and editing clips and transitions here. But sometimes I don't do that. I'm still readjusting because I've got the keyboard here in front of me, or I put it to the side of the keyboard there. And because all the functionality that I need is not available here, there's still certain things that I need to do in DaVinci Resolve when I'm editing videos that I can only do via a keyboard and mouse. Then I find myself, I'm here and then I go back, I'm there and I go back. And sometimes I just stick with the keyboard and mouse rather than switching. And this is something I'm going to have to, continually reassess over the next few weeks and try and get used to using this more and just be honest with myself after a month or so. Do I need this? Is this complementing my workflow? But I've said this many times during this video, but this is a fantastic little device. I can recommend this. It's a premium product. It works perfectly. There's no errors. And it does look like battery life will be good. I can't confirm, like I said, but overall, I'm incredibly happy with it. And I think the more I use it, the more I'll kind of fit it into my workflow and how I edit videos. Thanks for watching, guys. Once again, I do hope you found this useful. If you get any questions, please do leave a comment below and I'll do my best to answer them. And until next time, take care.